I worry about the kind of stuff that, like, not my kids, because they, like, I have access to their watch history. I know what they're watching. But what their peers are watching.
What if they delete stuff?
They have demonstrated their truthfulness elsewhere where it wouldn't be possible enough. And as far as they know, I can access things they delete. As far as they know right now. In time, they'll figure things out better, and I won't be able to rely on that. But for now, even in cases where I can't prove it, and where I don't necessarily have the power to know exactly what happened, they have shown themselves to be extremely honest. And I mean that as a parent with my eyes completely wide open, who knows that children are just little humans who lie, cheat, steal, and will even kill. They're humans. They're just people. They're just smaller.
I'm not saying this to say that the other ones aren't. I've just spent more time with this one, and he's older. But little man is definitely intelligent and clever enough to figure it out if he wanted to.
And he has bypassed parental controls before, and we have talked about it. And he did get busted, and that's why he thinks that I know. Because I did catch him before, and it was a pretty clever workaround that I was not aware of.
Is it bad that I'm like a little proud? We can move on.
Oh man, I actually forget what exactly the workaround was. I think it was that the screen time wasn't counted if you like quickly locked and unlocked the phone or something like that, or like, I forget what it was, but it was a pretty clever workaround. But yeah, no, he's at the age now where instead of the conversation being you need to be 100% honest all the time, the conversation is you need to learn the importance of honesty, and you need to be man enough to be honest at times when it's hard. But no, I don't expect you to tell the truth to absolutely everyone in your life 100% of the time.
And eventually you need to learn the lesson that you shouldn't.
Yeah. Eventually you're going to need to learn to hold your cards closer to your chest. So he's headed into adolescence, and we've started to have those conversations instead of just, it's like,
there's appropriate time.
It's like physics, right? Where you learn the laws of it, and then
but
you're
ignoring air resistance and
everything you learned was wrong.
Yeah.
And then you learn that everything you learned then was wrong. And then you learn that everything you learned then was wrong, right? Like, the early conversations with your kids are, it doesn't matter if you win or lose, as long as you try your best. Well, probably about a year ago, maybe between a year and a half ago, I had to have the first conversation with my son. So it's coming real soon for my eldest daughter. That was like, hey, what I told you, that's actually bullshit. In life, it matters if you win. If you didn't win, you lost. And if you tried really hard, you still lost. And, I think it was after a tournament or something. And he was like, I was tired. And to make my point, I brought up like someone who lost like a major match. And I was like, hey, look, have you seen this? On the results, it says that the score was this, but this guy was tired. Here, look. And he goes, it doesn't say that. I said, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't say his tummy hurt because nobody cares. At some point, you're going to need to win, and it's not going to matter. Nothing else is going to matter. If you want to win, then you're going to have to leave everything else at the door.
And you can understand as well, like you can basically decide that it's not worth the effort that that you might have to put into this thing in order to win. And you can be like, okay, I'm going to accept that I'm at a certain level of casualness with this thing. But if you're like, no, this is my thing, I must win, then it's like, well,
then win.
Yeah. Put in the effort.
So yeah, I think we were also having the conversation about like school as well. It's like, look, you're right. You can get a good enough grade, but at some point you're going to have to decide if good enough is good enough, or if you want to excel. Because like, let's be real. Our kids have ended up with a really interesting mix of well, their parents, obviously, right? Because that's like how genetics work. And they've got this fascinating sort of spectrum that they sit on between the things that are great about my mind, which is sort of this raw creative dragon energy, and the things that are great about Yvonne's mind, which is this spectacular attention to detail. And I think they have a lot of potential, but I think they have a lot of the same challenges that I had and she had, and that she figured out and that I didn't until a lot later. And that's that it's hard to learn to work hard when you don't have to. And Yvonne figured it out when she was still in elementary school. Like when she was
pretty early.
When they started giving out letter grades and she got B's and she was like, excuse me, what the fuck? I thought I was an A student, and kind of cleaned up her act.
Got it.
Whereas for me, I don't know, I cleaned it up in like grade 9, I think. But then I completely fell apart when I started dating. Not focused. Like flunked out of university, like hard.
I don't think I really got it until I landed at BCIT. Because I would get really like touchy about my teachers. Like I had a terrible grade in English for reasons that are probably self-explanatory at this point. Until I got an English teacher.
Because he's blonde.
Until I got an English teacher that was just an absolute badass, Mr. Thompson. Fantastic. And then my English grade cranked and I got into AP English out of nowhere. I was like barely passing for my whole life. And then I got a high A and then AP English the next year.
And then he was a professional writer for a while.
Which was a choice. And then, and that was kind of similar for a lot of different things in school where like if I had a good teacher, I would get like dialed in and do super well. But if I had a bad teacher, I had this like, well, I don't like that teacher, I'm not going to try, which is stupid.
Panda asks,
made my brain happy.
Hey Linus, have any of your kids displayed ADHD traits? What do you think? I mean, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where it's like
it is.
neurodivergence, right? And I think that
if you want to be at a certain level of excellence in certain things, you probably have to be on extremes
somewhere. You're probably on some kind of spectrum of some sort.
Sick.
And
Hell yeah.
And it's one of those things where like I've had conversations with people where they're like, okay, yeah, Linus, but I don't feel bad for you because for you, you know, the hyperfocus and sort of the inability to pay attention to one thing for a long time and you kind of like you go off on these tangents. It's like a superpower. And you know, for me, it's not like that. And it's like, yeah, but at some point you're going to have to decide if you want to make excuses or if you want to win.
That was a lesson I got from my physics teacher.
Really?
Yeah. I won't name him because not a lot of people are stoked about this lesson, but it was interesting at the time. Where there was someone in class. I have certain, you know, I can't read all that great, but someone in class had some form of learning disability. I don't remember what it was, and it was constant, right? Every single class, when we broke it into doing work, this person requested help and the teacher would help them. Never a problem with that.
Yeah.
And then they asked for, I think, something else. It was like a lower required grade to pass the class or something like that. And he drew like an extremely hard line. And he was like, no, because when you leave, this will never be a thing. So like, you got to figure it out now. But he's like, I'm here at all times to help.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I can help you after class. I can help you on lunch. I can help you on various other breaks. If you take a spare period, I can help you during that. If I have time, I can potentially help you outside of class. Like I can give you everything, but you have to pass the same bar. And overhearing that, because they were like talking in the corner, right? But you could kind of still hear it. Overhearing that, I was like, okay. I need to kind of shut up about my reading thing and like figure it out.
And to be clear, shut up and figure it out isn't the right way either.
Not always.
Get support.
Yeah.
Talk to people, get a diagnosis, find resources.
For me, it was the right thing.
Yes, and that's fine. But your path might be totally different.
Very, yeah.
Your path is probably going to be very different.
It might also inform, like, maybe you should do a slightly different thing.
Yeah.
I think our generation was hammered with the, like, everyone can do anything.
You
no matter
can be
what.
anything.
Yeah.
Like, literally, we were told we could be astronauts.
Yeah.
I cannot be an astronaut.
Yeah.
If I had focused every ounce of my being on being an astronaut from the age of 2, I would be no closer to space than I am right now. And that is exactly 5 feet 6 inches off of the Earth. 5'9" if I jump.
Yeah.
And
I think, honestly, that advice was kind of poisonous.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I think sometimes recognizing, like, okay, I am clearly not good at this thing, even if I like it. Well, there's practically infinite other possibilities in the world. Maybe I should find something else that I like and I can do well.
That was something that I really struggled with too.
So many options.
We weren't exposed to that much. At least I wasn't.
Yeah, it was like, do you want to be a tradesperson, a policeman, a firefighter, an astronaut?
Or a teacher. Don't forget
or
teacher.
a teacher, yeah. Yeah.
And like, so I just thought I wanted to be a teacher because I was like, I don't know, my mom's a teacher.
There's
my
like 5 options.
Stepdad's a teacher. My aunt's a teacher.
Yeah.
Every adult in my life.
Like, I just listed all the things.
My teachers are all teachers.
I didn't know what people went to business school for until I was in like high school. I was like, what do you mean? You just do like these things.
Yeah.
Because it's all anyone would ever tell you.
You just have a boss and you just do what they tell you, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like I was, okay. Yeah, you figure it out eventually, but it was a weird time in regards to communication of what like schools and teachers were telling you could do when you grew up.
Dwinlin says, I still don't know what people go to business school for. I think it's for a common sense education, honestly. A lot of what people seem to cover there is just like how to interact with people, how to do basic analysis, how to generate
pretty valuable.
Communication.
No, I know. How to generate a report.
Dude, it's such a huge problem.
How to do a meeting.
How to sell. It all comes back
You were
to
talking
how to
earlier
sell.
in the show about how you have to be selling all the time. These are genuinely very valuable things.
Always be closing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conversely, if you find a way to love reading problems. If you find a way to love what does work, surrounding yourself with others. Okay, I can't read that properly, but yeah, I mean, there's alternatives to everything, right? Like there's there's a guy who doesn't have any arms and is a race car drifting person. I think he does literally formula drift, and he doesn't have arms. He steers the wheel with one of his legs, and then he manages all the pedals with his other leg. Amazing, super sick, made it work. There's routes for sure.
I saw this.
But you also have to understand that was way harder for him than anybody else. And there was no like...
I saw this incredible video of a mom with no arms lifting her baby into a seat and then like out of it and stuff with her legs.
That's so sick.
Just from a chair position, like being an absolute badass
That's
super
so
mom
sick.
without arms.
But like, yeah. And like it sucks that that's harder for her for sure. But I think wallowing in self-pity over it isn't gonna help. Yeah.
Might help.
No.
Might help.
I don't think so.
It could. You won't know unless you try. Go ahead, try. Let's see if it helps. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. What are we doing?
I just want to make it clear that everything that Luke and I say comes with a little bit of survivorship bias as well. Obviously, we have powered through and succeeded in our respective fields. And so, it's easy for us to say, hey, this works great. Well, but I think the most important thing I said was the part where I said, learn about yourself, find yourself, know yourself.
Yeah.
Seek out a diagnosis, seek out strategies, seek out support, and find your own path.
If the path that you're on isn't working, understand that you can almost certainly find another path. I think that's the biggest thing for me. Is like there's things that I wanted to do when I was growing up that I was able to self-recognize, like, this just isn't a good route for me. And
there's ways to win that are not being an astronaut.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You don't have to win that hard.
Dude, the need for... Oh man, if you get into, as far as I can tell, literally any trade in BC, you will just kill it.
Oh yeah.
My goodness, you will destroy. Like it's yeah.
And not all of them are like excruciating pain and like requiring a ton of strength. Like
there's a lot of tools that are coming out that can help assist with that type of stuff in really cool ways.
Like if you don't like getting dirty, be an electrician. If you
some of them still get dirty.
Okay, some of them still get dirty, but there's definitely a lot of jobs where you don't get as dirty. Like you don't have to do residential plumbing repair. Like there's lots of trades. Yeah. Is the point that I'm trying to make here.
Yeah, there's tons.
Hold on, there was something here that I thought was really funny. Stay the Path says, I can't help but feel like they're talking directly to me.
Sorry, 1987 Datsun in Full Plane Chat said, I'm a lineman in the States and I make over $200K a year. The trades are the way. I didn't even go to college. $200K a year US.
Yeah, that's like real money.
Woo! Dang. Yeah, like I don't know. There's routes. There's routes. A lot of like people troll garbage men all the time. Dude, they make cash.
Yeah.
And a lot of the garbage routes, I think
you mean sanitation professional.
Sure, whatever. Yeah. A lot of the sanitation professional routes, as far as I've heard, are based on completion, not time. So you'll notice how they often work really fast.
Oh yeah.
They get paid the same.
Right.
So you get a team of people that are going to hustle, and they finish this 8-hour route in like 5.5. Then you just have the whole rest of the day off and you didn't lose any income. Kind of a sick job. Like, cool.
And then if you're a hustler, go start a side hustle in that extra 2.5 hours every day.
And then you're just making major bank. I don't know. There's a lot of really cool options, like legitimately really cool options, especially I find if you look at jobs that are like less traditionally attractive. Because then there usually isn't as much competition. And when there isn't as much competition, it's often, you end up making more money for it. So, yeah.
Linus, when you kids start driving, what safety measures and rules will you implement? Android Auto, CarPlay only, new car with loads of smart safety features, or an old clunker?
Does little man get to drive the Porsche?
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, you got to be kidding me.
Ever?
The first thing I did when I started driving was I hit a pillar in a parking lot. Like there's no way.
I've never hit anything yet.
No, I think if he has a big date, then I don't see why not. But like the flip side of it is,
you got to prove some responsible driving before then.
Yeah, and the flip side of it is like, if she's the kind of girl who's impressed by that, is she the kind of girl that
you want around?
Likes you for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, dude. And it's one of those things that's like, do I want to encourage, putting on airs? That's not his car. I wouldn't tell him not to rent a nice car to impress a girl, but borrowing your dad's car is not like, you haven't actually done anything.
Really? You wouldn't? I'm actually surprised. You wouldn't tell him not to rent a nice car to impress a girl? That does not seem like a Linusism, actually.
I wouldn't not allow it, I guess. Okay. And it's not up to me anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
And remember, rent a nice car to impress a girl can mean rent a limo for a prom. That's renting a nice car.
Okay.
It might impress her. Okay. I'm just saying there's context where him actually doing something, because remember, the thing that's impressive is the effort, right? And so if you're trying to impress her with your effort, which is the thing that I would hope she would be valuing about it, right? Because we aren't all just materialistic here. then you have to actually put in the effort. And being like, hey, Dad, can I have the keys? Is not effort. So I would never say don't make an effort.
Yeah.
But borrowing my car isn't effort.
Yeah.
Working hard and mowing lawns and renting a cool car for a date is effort.
He had to do those things in order to borrow your car.
But then maybe he could get a cooler car. Buy my car. I don't know. Or maybe, I don't know. It just seems lame. It seems lame.
I have so many additional questions I want to ask, but they're information that should not end up on the stream. So I'm going to leave it there. Like how long until this is going to be a thing and stuff like that, which we shouldn't go into.
Till what's going to be a thing?
He's driving.
Oh, I mean, a while.
Yeah.
Like I would expect him to get his license right when he is of age.
That's apparently not a thing anymore. Have you heard about that? That's interesting.
I have some pretty strong feelings about that.
Yeah.
That might not be popular.
Oh.
I see driving as a fundamental life skill. I see it as being just an important part of being a competent adult.
Your insurance gets cheaper the longer you have your license.
I was so scared that we would have differing opinions.
Oh,
I thought you were going to take driving's not necessary, and I would have just left.
And
all the goodwill gone.
Okay, goodbye.
And there's a lot of places in the world where you might never use the skill, or certainly not often.
But then just in case you do, your insurance is super cheap.
Look, I don't agree with my mother about everything, but when she was convincing me to learn to drive stick, and I don't necessarily think that most people need to learn stick anymore. There were a lot more stick shift cars back in the early 2000s than there are today. But when she was convincing me that I needed to learn to drive stick, a manual transmission with the shifter, her rationale for it was, you don't know where you're going to be and what the situation's going to be when there's an emergency. If the driver is incapacitated for some reason and we need to get to the hospital now, you need to be able to drive. You need to be able to drive any vehicle, and you need to be ready for it. You don't need to be the most practiced operator of the thing, but you damn well need to know how to do it. And I kind of carried that with me. I agree. I strongly agree. And I think that even if you will probably never drive, you should learn to drive.
Yeah, Vertig1 said being able to drive isn't the same thing as having a license. I do agree with that, but I don't think, at least here, getting a license is not that big of a step. And the potential benefits behind it are really big. Like, if you do need a car for whatever reason, your insurance is way cheaper. The ability to upgrade your license in case you need to have an upgraded license for a certain line of work that you might need to do.
Yeah, it opens up so many work possibilities.
Like keeping yourself limited in that way and making it so that if you do need it, it's going to be very expensive, just seems really oddly short-sighted for something that is not that big of a barrier.
Are you always going to live in a super walkable city?
Yeah,
maybe you want to move.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's the arguments.
Like, look at the costs of housing and stuff lately. Like, you're probably going to move at some point.
And it's one of those things where not everybody is in a life situation where they're able to. Right?
Yeah. And the barrier might be too high.
And the barrier might be too high. They might not have access to a vehicle. They might not have someone to teach them. They might have a physical disability. I don't know. Everyone's life situation is different.
But if the opportunity is there.
But if you have the opportunity and you're just like, Feh, I disagree.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I knew people that didn't have access to a vehicle in order to take their test. And that was a pretty big barrier. Some of them still got over it by paying a friend to borrow theirs, which is kind of sketchy, to be clear.
Oh yeah.
Or other various options. I think there's also places where you can rent a car, but then renting a car is really expensive. And I think it's expensive. As far as my understanding goes, it's even more expensive when you're renting it for that reason. There's lots of different reasons why it might not make sense, but the dip in people getting their licenses does not match those reasons being more legitimate. You know what I mean? Like that it doesn't follow that line. So
Arbiter K, I don't know if this is true, but Arbiter K says Gavin Free of Slow Mo Guys fame is in his 30s and does not have a driver's license. That actually blows my mind. I will say that Gavin, who I have met is in a life situation where he doesn't need to drive himself anywhere. So that's something. You are not.
Just get it. Just get it. Oh my goodness.
That's I don't know if that's true anyway though.
UK licensing it's a very hard test.
Oh yeah?
We would be put to shame.
I mean, that's not too surprising.
Hello.
And
Sorry.
to be clear, there's lots of cities that I wouldn't drive in, even though I do know how to drive. Like there's places I've been that I'm just like, this is terrifying.
This is
Forget
crazy.
it. Yep. So there's that as well.
There's also places where, like, if you have an international driver's license, you're allowed to drive, but like the road laws are so different that you just probably shouldn't. Yeah.
I wouldn't even consider driving in like a metropolitan city in like India. Wouldn't even begin to consider it.
Not even the rules of the road, just the styles of driving are so different.
So different.
My goodness.